Welcome, everyone, to Music Junkies, a podcast about people sharing extraordinary stories about how music has impacted their lives.
Our guest today, welcome everybody. Our guest today is New York City-based stand-up comedian who has appeared on many late-night shows, including Jimmy Fallon, Stephen Colbert, Conan, list goes on. Like when I was kind of looking at all the shows you've been on, I could talk for hours, right? It's awesome. You've also appeared in Inside Amy Schumer, which I love her. She's awesome. I'm assuming you guys had like an incredible time together because your guys' personalities are very similar. You host podcasts and you're on tour right now and you're coming to Canada tomorrow, which is awesome. You're touring all over the US. So please welcome Carmen Lynch to Music Junkies. Welcome, Carmen. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's good to be here. Greetings from Vegas. And yeah, I'm looking forward to going through these songs because they'll bring back funny old memories. Hopefully funny and not sad. I can't even remember right now.
So before I get started, I know you touched base on a little bit. What was your experience putting your playlist together for me today?
I tend to just I feel like my memories I'm losing brain cells all the time. So I went through, I just asked Alexa, I looked at my playlist. That's what I did. I went on Spotify and I saw what, some of my playlists had. And then I went from there, like one song would remind me of another one. And somebody told me this, and I think it's true, but your most memorable music comes from your like teens and 20s because I think you're either so vulnerable or you're so excited about life or something like that. Because I find that a lot of my favorite songs are like 80s and 90s. And I'm like, that's so weird. But I love music, but the songs, if I hear an old song, sometimes I just go, like, I don't really feel that way about a song I've heard 5 or 10 years ago.
Yeah, I agree. And I did hear that too. I did hear that most of your favorite bands and your favorite moments all come from that, 12 to 17 year age. And yeah, I think about music and I love all kinds of music, but I'm an 80s girl all the way. Like any parties I throw, it's like 80s related or like, I just love that whole era of the 80s. And it's not pop. It's like everything, like music that came out. I'm emceeing one of our conventions here on the weekend, and I'm literally opening up my MC stage show to Prince, Let's Go Crazy, like in the beginning where it's like Dearly Beloved, right? So
yes.
I have that all like really loud with purple lights and
oh my God.
I'm making a couple guys, like I bought some ribbons. I'm making a couple guys wear like a unitard and do that. It's a financial services conference, so it's going to be a riot.
It sounds like you're really good at like designing and ideas and stuff.
I just like the whole, I feel like so much of our world is stuffy.
Yeah.
Like I can't walk into a room stuffy. I'll just say inappropriate things just to like, I'll take the heat. I'm okay with that. That's just, I can't handle that. And I feel like this world has just got so serious. Do you?
Yeah.
Same, obviously you're in this comedy realm. Do you feel the same way?
I mean, in terms of like material, I do sense a shift. Like some of the jokes that I used to do that would kill, now they're like controversial or whatever. And it's different in every state, I think, too, in every city. Like, sometimes it'll work in New York, but it won't work like in Vegas, or it won't work in DC because they're so political or whatever. It's just, it's a weird time. I don't love that. I mean, I'm all for like, making all groups happy and everything. But when it comes to comedy, I'm like, I still think we should be allowed to say anything.
I agree.
If it's not hurting anyone, it's just a joke and it's not malicious.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And I love all comedians for doing that. It's like breaking the barriers, being able to step outside their comfort zone and say the thing. And it also, as an audience member, also gives you that opportunity to laugh at something that you're like, oh yeah, I'm totally thinking that, but I would never say that, but this is hilarious that they said that and I get to laugh at that. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Like that's
Yeah.
amazing. I love that. So we're gonna favorite song, and I can always tell if we're gonna have a good time just by people's playlists. And I used to love this song like so much. So you ready?
I'm ready.
Right, Lightning Crashes Live. Oh man, that was like one of my favorite songs growing up. And the video, geez, you want to talk about controversial. The video, like, do they even allow it still anywhere?
I don't even remember the video because I'm so into the audio. Like, I have like my own video of that time for this song that I don't even remember the actual video.
Yeah, you'll have to go check it out because you're like, whoa, they probably wouldn't play that now.
I'm going to check it out. That song totally, I had the biggest crush on this guy. Oh my God. I was probably in my like really early 20s when this came out. I don't know, but I had a crush on this guy who was 10 years older. I worked at a bank and he was the funniest guy I'd ever met. And, you know, a 30-year-old man when you're like 20 or like, it's just hot. I've always like liked older guys, and he worked at the bank. I've always had crushes on my bosses. And he drove this sick car, and this song would play. And one time, you know, like little things when you're super young that you love about like that guys will do, they'll just be like, do you want to drive my car? And I'm like, you're gonna let me drive your car? Oh my God. And then I'm like, oh my God, he must really like me, you know. And so I drove his car. It was like some sports car. I don't even remember what it was. And we drove to Georgetown in DC, and then he took me out for dinner, and we like hooked up at some point, not that night, but I remember that I was like, and I remember, you know, we didn't have cell phones. So he would call my house, and my mom was like, who's this grown man who's calling you? And I'm like, he's only like 32. And she's like, he's going to hurt you. He's going to hurt you. He's a grown man. And what is he doing with someone 10 years? She was like, every guy, there was something wrong with him, you know, because she was so protective. But we both loved Live, and that song still reminds me of him. It's so funny.
That's hilarious. It's interesting that you liked older men growing up. I did too, and my daughter is 25 now. When she was 20, and I knew something was going on. Like, I just had this feeling that she's dating this older guy, and I'm going to like dog sit. She kept on saying that. I'm going to go dog sit for this dude. And I'm like, okay. So I went and like Googled him on Facebook. This is rewind after I literally moved her into his place, right? Drove there, moved her in. And I was like, so where are you sleeping? And she's like, oh, in this room. And it was like kind of like an office. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. But I'm like, okay, let her make her own mistakes. I get home, I'm like, I gotta fucking Google this guy. Like, I'm starting to stress out here. So I put his name in. He's a male dancer, and he's like 34 years old.
Oh my God. See, that's the thing how you can find everyone now. I don't know if that's better or worse.
I know. And I'm like, what if I did? Oh my God. Like, I have to go save my child.
So did you?
No, she wouldn't come back. 3 days later, she did, but at the time, and then she had a relationship with him for like 9 months.
Yeah.
It just was like a disaster. She ended up coming back, and we kind of knew, but it was like, it as a parent, it just puts you in this weird realm where you're like, you want them to go out. I remember what I was doing at 20. I get it. Right. But then it's like, oh my God, no, not like, how are we going to have like a, let's meet your boyfriend, right? When your dad is like 4 years older than this dude, you know what I mean?
Oh my God. Well, at least it only lasted 9 months. Maybe you got the troublesome one out of the way. And then you're like, okay, the next one has to be a doctor. I can feel it.
You
Is
remember
she dating now?
No, she's been single pretty much. I dated a guy after that. And then now she's been single for like 3 years. I couldn't imagine dating during COVID. Like, how do you even...
Yeah, anything during COVID. I felt bad for those seniors who were graduating and they didn't have a prom. Not that not that I loved prom, but still, you think it's like you need to like experience it.
Yeah. Do you remember your prom?
Oh yeah, I asked a guy out because I'm super tall. I'm 6 feet tall, and I was like so like I can't go out with anyone shorter than me. Like I was so like that. And then it was just also artificial. I'm like, I have to wear heels, so he has to be 6'2" at least. Like just dumb shit like that. So yeah, I remember going out with this guy. I went with this friend of mine who was 6'2" just for the pictures. Oh, but he's a nice guy. I'm still friends with him on Facebook. So
Good. That's a good
yeah.
thing. All right, your next song. Again, I feel like you might have had a crush on this guy, but we're not sure.
Oh my God. Oh my God. This one.
Oh, Michael Bolton. Like
Michael Bolton has a completely different story. Michael Bolton. Oh my God, that's so funny. I forgot I wrote that down. I'm so glad I remembered putting that down because I would never listen to this guy unless because I was dating this guy who was a security guard for Michael Bolton. So I went to, and I'm like, are you in love with Michael Bolton? Because he can't stop talking about him. And he's like, I love him. He's the best. He's such a romantic man. And then we started dating, and he's on one of the nights, he's like, I have to work. And he would stand with these other security guards in front of the stage at the Michael Bolton concert. And I must have been like, maybe I was in college. So I was probably like 19, 20. And I was surrounded by 40-year-old women. Just the whole audience was like, and I'm like, what is up? And I loved this guy. I was dating. I was so into him. And I was like, but this part of him is so weird. He's like obsessed with Michael Bolton. So whenever I hear Michael Bolton, I always think of this relationship I had.
I feel like Fabio and Michael Bolton were like creams of the crop back then.
Totally. Yeah, that long hair. And they were just like, almost like they should have been like stars in like romance novels. Yeah.
So when you were growing up in high school, what kind of guys did you go for?
In high school, I never dated. I was super shy. And again, because I was tall, there were like 2 tall guys. And one of them I went to prom with. The other one was dating the head cheerleader. And so, of course, I had nothing to do with him. Not that he would have noticed me because I was just such a like, because I in middle school, I wore a back brace for my scoliosis. So I kind of became this shy person just from wearing a brace. And once I got the brace off, I was still the same girl.
Yeah.
So I kind of like stayed away. I was just with my friends all the time. And then once college happened, I was like, damn, like all the guys were tall. They were like just the athletes, the football players, basketball players. They were all my height. And I was like, this is so much better.
Way better. What was kind of one of the biggest challenges you had in high school was just being shy and feeling kind of just isolated?
It's just more than isolated because I had my friends, but I just felt goofy. When you're super tall, all my friends were short. My pants didn't go down to my ankles. It's, there was like a dance and I'm like, no one's going to ask me and no one did, stuff like that, where I still had so much fun with my friends, but I was just like, I was not emotionally ready to be in any kind of relationship.
Crazy. I'm short. In high school, I was probably like 4'9", and my best friend was like 4'9".
Yeah.
Right now, I'm like 5'3.5". I have to put that half in because that's a big deal.
Yeah. I was always jealous of like shorter people because they had friends they could just look at like straight ahead and have them just be like, they could just be like, hey, guess what? And it was like right there, and it just felt so cool and intimate to be like, oh my God, Joey said hi. And for me, it was like, what? Joey said what? And it just never felt fun like that. I know it's so like dramatic, but it just, when you're like that age, you just want to be like, you just stick out in pictures and you're always in the back and stuff. And you just feel like a dork.
Yeah. My girlfriend, Pam, is the same height as you. And she's always, when she was single, she was always looking for those guys that were, I'm never going to date anybody shorter. And I think it just like over the years, it's like, not that she settled, because Jimmy is an amazing guy, but he's shorter than her. So like she never wears heels, right?
Yeah, no, same. Like I dated a ton of short guys after college in the real world. And I never wear heels. Like I'll wear heels to a wedding, but then I'll take them off, you know, an hour later. But I'm like, I don't want to wear heels. Like and it's mostly just, it's not even the tall, they're just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I have a bunion. So fuck it.
That's right. All right, next song. Geez, your list is so good.
Might be the wrong song. I know what you're trying to pick, but it's I think it's the wrong one. Did you YouTube it? Because it's on YouTube. Okay. Do you want me to play the beginning so you have it?
For sure, absolutely. If you
or I can send you the link. What's better?
Whatever you want to do.
Okay, let me just send you I mean, unless they changed the intro, but here it is. And if you watch the video when you play it, you're gonna like it makes Michael Bolton look not cheesy. Like this. This isn't usually the part though. It starts here. Is always cut out when it's the radio.
So what's cutting?
Oh, that's it? Oh, okay. So that song is when I went to India, I was like, I think I was like mid-20s. I went with a friend of mine because one of my friends from New York is from India and she was getting married and her family lived in India. So she's like, do you want to come? And I was like, are you kidding? Like, I want to go everywhere. Let's go to India. So I brought my roommate at the time. We were living in New York. I just moved to New York. And we both like the there was no financial crisis. Like America was kicking ass. So we literally both had jobs where we were like, we're going to take off and we'll come back in like 3 weeks. And they're like, okay, whatever. And we ended up staying for 6 weeks in India. And then we took another 6 weeks and went to Nepal. But during that 6 weeks in India, this music would play all the time. And that was, that's the main theme song of a movie that was like blockbuster, just out at the time. It was like, you know, when Top Gun first started, remember everyone was like, go see Top Gun. Like, and everyone was seeing, it was like that big. And everybody was playing it on the streets. And of course I have no idea what they're saying. So my roommate and I would just be like singing to it, like with what we thought they were saying, but we didn't know. And, oh my God, it was an amazing trip. India is, there's so much poverty, but it's such a beautiful country, and the food and the people and the colors, the saris, the dresses, everything. And we had to stay. We were like, we need to go everywhere and see the Taj Mahal. And I remember my friend my roommate went to see the Dalai Lama, which I find disgusting now because of what he did. But like the whole movie, it was like a musical, and they played music all the time. And so I came back to New York, like, I guess 3 months later, started up my job again. And there were so many Indian and Pakistani cab drivers in New York because, you know, there was no Lyft and no Uber or anything. And some of them would be playing this music. And I just was like, oh, they were probably thought I was crazy. They're like, who's this white girl who knows this song? And it's just so funny. I never hear this song because, like, who's going to play it unless I'm like in a cab.
That's crazy. Did you like, because I know when I came back I went to Thailand for just about a month. And I know when I came back, I was like, don't kill a fly. And like, you know, kind of like wanting to everybody, and like everything just seemed very different in
Yes.
the world. When you came back to India, did you feel that? Like, did you have those feelings coming back?
Absolutely. There was so much poverty. I remember when we went to Bombay, I almost tripped over people, like homeless people. Like they had no limbs. They were, begging for food. Like it changes your point of view. And then you become so grateful for what you have, but also so like guilty parts of me. I remember we left, I think, early January. And I remember that we landed on St. Patrick's Day back in New York. It was March 17th. And everyone in New York was out wearing green, drinking green beer and whatever. And I was exhausted. And my roommate was like, come on, it's St. Patrick's Day. Let's go out. And where usually I'd be like putting makeup on and making sure I look cute, I was like, fuck mascara. There's people dying around the world. Like I remember, and of course that all comes back. Like a month later, I'm wearing mascara again. But I remember I was just like, so like, what is wrong with America? Like we make everything such a big deal. I mean, so many children were working in India and Nepal for their families, and they were like 5, and I'm like, what are we doing? We're like so concerned about not having like water that's hot enough or whatever. It's just incredible. But that goes away over time.
Yeah, it does.
Sadly.
Yeah. My husband's like, okay, we got 35 flies in the house. We're gonna have to do something. Like, we're gonna have to kill some of them.
Yeah, the flies thing never happened to me. I still hate flies. But I hate the rats in New York. Like we have a huge rat, and I've had apartments with mice and stuff. And I did see one mouse in a teacup in India, just like peeking over the teacup. And I was like, you're cute. I'm sorry, but you're super cute.
All right, next song. Good band.
All right.
Radiohead.
They can do no wrong to me, especially I think that was OK Computer, the album. I don't remember, but my friend made me a mixtape of Radiohead, and that's the same time as the India thing. Like I remember being on these trains because we bought a one-way ticket to Bombay because my roommate, I remember she was like, you don't know where you're going to fly out from, trust me. She goes, once you travel to these places, you meet so many people and they're like, let's go, because we almost went to Thailand, and they were like, no, let's go here, let's go there, oh, let's go. So we went to all these different places, and then who knew we were going to fly out of Kathmandu, Nepal. So I had these mixtapes, and so many of them were Radiohead. So I would listen to them on these buses and trains and stuff, and just it's you're just you think of like India as a place to like go find yourself, and it is kind of true. It's just such a passionate place, and playing Radiohead like throughout all of that, it's just those songs are so powerful.
I love that you talked about mixtapes. I've always said if I could go back in time, that's all I would get. I'd go get all my mixtapes because like it'd be so crazy. I miss making mixtapes.
I know
it's on Spotify, but it's not the same.
It's not. And do you remember even before that, where I remember my sister and I would put signs on our bedroom door that would be like, please be quiet, I'm recording. And then it would be like top 40, and you'd wait for your song to come on, and you had to hit record and play at the same time.
You're like, can that guy stop talking for me?
He would talk. I'm like, the song started, shut up. Oh my God, I totally remember them talking. I was so angry. Oh, but I loved that. It was so fun.
Do you remember the first cassette tape you ever bought?
I do, because some of them are on your list.
Oh,
so
good.
I don't know if you're going to hit them, but I can tell you.
Yeah, for sure.
So I lived in Spain until I was 8. And then I was born in America, but then my family moved to Spain because my dad was in the military. So when I was 8, he was assigned back to the US. And my sister was like, she was 10, but she was a very old 10. Like she was already a grade ahead. So technically she was like 11 with all of these. and she just knew shit more. I was kind of like the young kid who was kind of an idiot, you know. And I remember we moved to America and she like bought all these cassette tapes. And I'm like, how do you know these? We just got to America. And she's like, my friends, and I know. And they were like, one of the early ones was Daryl Hall and John Oates.
Wow.
And so yeah, and I think one of the U2 albums, I don't remember which one, and Cyndi Lauper, but Daryl Hall and John Oates, I remember just being like, who are these guys? Yeah.
Did you have any big crushes, like 80s male crushes at all?
Yes.
Like, did you have your posters on?
Yes.
Have
my
that?
biggest poster was Tom Selleck.
Oh,
and
wow.
My mother called him grandfather. She goes, why is that grandfather on your wall? And I'm like, he's so handsome. She's like, he could be your grandfather. And it was him and Ralph Macchio were like my big,
nice.
And of course now after watching Cobra Kai, I have a way bigger TV crush on Johnny than on Daniel-san or whatever. Like, I think Johnny's so funny. But yeah, but I loved, like, I remember she had David Bowie on her wall and I thought he was so weird, which is so weird because now I love him. Like now I literally seek to like find his stuff. But you know, I was one of those sisters who was like, I can't like what my sister likes because I have to be different. So I was always like, ew, David Bowie, you know. But yeah, all of my crushes had dark hair. Pretty much.
Really?
Oh, and then I had a huge crush, huge first concert ever. I can't believe I didn't put this song. My first concert was Aha.
No
and
way.
Take on Me. When I saw the lead singer Morton Harkett, I just like, I looked those magazines like Teen Magazine and all that.
Yeah,
Teen yes, anything with Morton Harkett on it, and I was like, people would be like, who do you think is cute? And I'm like, Morton Harkett. And they're like, who is I'm like, oh my God, he's the lead singer of Aha, duh.
I used to have like 2 rooms in a sense. Like my parents knocked out this wall because I was the only child and they wanted to give lots to me apparently. So one side was like all Teen Beat, like Kirk Cameron, like so many, I can't even remember. But Ralph, I wasn't a big Ralph Macchio fan, but I did have him on my wall just because he was like a teen.
Right.
And the other side was like Motley Crue and Cinderella and like all, you know, all kind of 80s hair bands. And I was obsessed with Vince Neil, but now I'm not so obsessed with Vince. Like Vince Neil from the 80s ate Vince Neil now. Like, you know, we just haven't seen him September, and I was like, dude, like the other guys are working out. You might want to just hit the gym a little bit. Like you're on a world tour here. Like
it makes you wonder, like, what is Mick Jagger doing? Because I saw him in concert a couple years ago and he looks fabulous.
Yeah.
I'm like, is he getting a blood transfusion? Like he looks amazing. I heard he doesn't even tell people what he eats. Like it's a secret. His diet is top secret, which I'm like, I don't think it's in his diet because I think we all know what's healthy. I think it's like he's doing something else.
Yeah, he could be some growth hormone or something.
Yeah.
All right, next song.
All right. Oh my God. I love that you picked the foreign song.
Tonto el que no entienda.
What's this song called?
Hijo de la Luna is son of the moon.
Oh.
And Hijo de la Luna is a song by a really popular Spanish band called Mecano. I don't think they're around anymore, but I would say, I don't even know, in the 80s again, like they were huge in Spain. And we would go to the beach with my cousins. And this was played everywhere and we would sing it. Even my aunts, who must have been like, I don't know, in their 40s. And I'm like, how can they like this song? They're so old. Ugh. You know, and they would all know Hijo de la Luna. And we would just, Mecano had a bunch of really good songs. So that was like one of the main ones that we would sing.
What do you think the difference is between Spanish men and American men?
That's a good question because sometimes Spanish men are so sexy, you know, that just I remember I dated one for a while and I'm like, can you just talk to me in Spanish? Because you have that Castilian, like zapato, like it's just so Spanish. And I just wanted him to like whisper in my ear and it was so hot.
Yeah.
But then you meet other ones and I'm just
you
like
have a bath after.
yes, exactly. So I don't know. It's just, it depends. But I remember going out clubbing with my cousins and I would purposely, part of it was unconscious, but then it just became conscious. Like I would give myself an even thicker American accent because guys loved it. Like I'd go to a bar and they'd be like, hola guapa. And I'm like, hola, ¿qué pasa? You know? And I'm like, why am I doing that? But it was like, they're like, oh, where are you from? ¿De dónde eres? You know? Yeah.
Do you travel back to Spain a lot? Like, do you still have family?
Yeah, no, I was just there. I just did a bunch of shows because now I'm doing stand-up in Spanish and I just did an hour in Spanish. It was so fun.
I bet.
It was like a challenge, but also like almost like a game, figuring out what jokes would work and how should I say this one? I can't say it the same way or whatever. And it's fun because now I'm shooting an English and a Spanish comedy special. So I just got the English one, which is at the Comedy Cellar in New York on June 26th. And now I'm waiting for the Spanish one, which should be July. And then hopefully I'll release both in the fall at the same time. But it'll be different material, but just working on those little differences and stuff. It's so much fun. And I just got another gig. Like I've been to Costa Rica doing shows in Spanish, and I just got asked to do one in Colorado. And they're like, we have a lot of Mexicans. And I'm like, you do? Like you find out all these things that you don't know. Like I went to Spain to do a show, and then I did one in the Netherlands. And they're like, can you do the Spanish show? And I'm like, I mean, it's so crazy. Like it's everywhere, which is cool.
Which is so cool. Do you find, like, I find when I talk to Spanish people, there is lots of like body language and like, you know, they're telling a joke or just talking, their voice is like up and down. Do you find when now you got to switch over to English that you're kind of potentially doing the same kind of body language? And
I don't know, because what I've noticed, like I'm more deadpan in English, I think. Yeah. And I was trying to figure it out. I'm like, is that because my dad is English and he's more of a deadpan guy and my mother's Spanish? Because I learned both languages as a kid. Like my dad would only speak to me in English and my mom would only speak to me in Spanish. So before you can actually go, oh, I see what you guys are doing. Very funny, very tricky. Like before you even do that, your brain just associates dad with English and mom with Spanish. And she's so much more like temperamental and he's so much more laid back. Like if I got pregnant at 16, I would definitely go to my dad. You know, like that was one thing I knew. I'm like, dad is going to be the like chill guy. So like my stand-up in English to me sounds more chill. And, but the Spanish one, it in a weird way, it has less, there's less stress attached to it, because I think in my head, I'm going like, if I bomb, I'm leaving your country. Like most of the time, if I'm not in New York, like in front of Latinos, I'm like in Spain and I'm like, see you later. I don't give a shit if you like me, you know? So there's like a freedom to that.
Growing up, did your parents listen to lots of music?
They did. My parents listened to mostly Spanish stuff when we were in Spain, except for actually, no, my dad listened to like John Denver and Johnny Cash. Nice. And my mom listened to this woman, her name was, well, she listened to Julio Iglesias, who's Enrique's father. But then she'd listen to this woman, Rocío Dúrcal. So we knew her music. Like all of the Spanish music that we knew was like old lady music, because depending on what, like, or middle age, like I'm sure they were like the Michael Boltons of Spain. Yeah. You know, but they were like, when I listen to them now, I'm like, I can't believe I even listened to this. Like, it's so cheesy.
Oh, that's funny. All right, next song.
Okay.
This song is so good.
Oh my God. Amazing.
another Radiohead song, Creep, but that song is just, yeah, it's so good. You don't know what's coming, and you think it's going to be a slow song, and then you're just like, this is crazy. Like the guitar riff in the beginning, everything about that song is just, wow.
I mean, some of their songs are like depressing, like they're so I mean, I hear that now and it just goes right into my heart. Like they're so good. They just hit that spot in your heart. And I mean, that there's no story for that one. It's still the India mixtape because it was part of that whole mixtape time. But I'm like, this band, I'm like, does anyone not like them? Because you're an idiot. Like they're so amazing. They're so good.
I agree. Do you have any pet peeves, things that drive you absolutely crazy?
Yeah, I hate when people walk behind me like really close, and it happens a lot in New York or in places. And I probably do that to people as well, but I'm a lot more careful now because I think when you either first move to New York or you're a tourist in New York, you're always looking up at the skyscrapers and you're looking up at stuff and you're not paying attention where you're walking. And I was one of those people because I was like, oh my God, this building is so high. And then someone would be like, can you move? Like you're in the middle of the sidewalk. So like slow people and people who like walk behind me, I just stop and I just let them go. Cause I'm like, it's like one of those, keep your distance, like don't get so close to me. Or they stand in line behind you and they're like right behind you. I'll do that. Like I'll pretend that I don't notice it and just shove my backpack further, or my suitcase, I'll hold it like really far. But that shit drives me crazy. Like personal space.
Yeah, I agree. Anything else drive you crazy?
I mean, there are things, but I can't remember. Snoozing. My boyfriend, I'm like, don't you dare fucking snooze that one more time. I'll kill you. Because I'm a light sleeper. So if your alarm goes off, I'm done. I'm up.
Yeah.
So I'm always like, you set that alarm when you want to get up. And he's like, well, I want to snooze. And I'm like, you don't snooze with me. You do not. If you want to snooze, you're sleeping in the other room, So I've kind of trained him to not snooze 5 times because it's just not, he can go right back to sleep and I can't. It's just my brain is up.
Yeah. So you've obviously traveled all over the world. Have you ever like gotten off the plane and been like, oh, this is totally not what I expected. It's, this is amazing. Just you're talking about going to India and the Netherlands and all these different places. I'm sure you're probably excited to go to all these places, but was there a place that you're like, oh my God, this is going to be like unreal, and you just kind of stepped off the plane and you're like, wow, I'm so excited to kind of be here?
I mean, it most of the places that I go to, I'll do a lot of research first, just because I want to know what there is to see.
Yeah.
But I would say when I went to Iraq during the war, that to me was like, what the fuck? Like, I'm never going to be here again. And when we landed in Baghdad, the security that came to pick us up announced, because it was a military tour, the security that came to pick us up announced that Osama bin Laden had just been shot. So it was like, how could you get more historical? Like that moment was just literally as we're flying, he's getting shot. And I'm like, this is incredible. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah, that would be crazy. Do you have a favorite place that you love to perform at? Like a theater that you love performing in that theater?
I don't usually do theaters. Like the Canada tour that's coming up is all theaters. It's like, I think 4 comics together. Yeah. But I love clubs. I mean, I'd love to do theaters. I do theaters all the time. But hopefully one day, but clubs that have this like low ceiling, basement quality, it doesn't have to be a small room, but just a room where the laughs are so tight and there's no high ceilings, like rooms like that typically where they're just open and they're not offended by everything. Those are the best.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I love seeing comedians in smaller venues. I just feel it's more intimate, it's more personal. Yeah. And anytime I actually go to a theater to see a comedian, I always want to get like right up close, personal, for I don't have to see everybody behind me. I don't want to be up in the rafters. Like,
right.
I don't want to see any of that stuff. So that's cool. I love that you have the Smiths on your playlist.
Ah! You're so great.
Girlfriend in a coma, I know.
They're so great. They remind me of Radiohead in the sense that they're like kind of depressing, and it just they stab me in the heart. Their music is so good. I feel like sad almost listening to them, and I don't know if it's because I was sad in high school or whenever this song came. Like I remember a couple of my friends, I was probably a senior in high school. They would not when it first came out, but when they were listening to it, they would send me like mixtapes or whatever. And I could just like drown out life and just play the Smiths. And I found their words, their vocals just so like Girlfriend in a Coma. Like who sings that? Or I Wish You on Unhappy Birthday. Like I remember when I made this list, I'm like, which Smith song should I put down? Because there's so many that are so funny. Like the words are so funny to me.
Do you like
I love them.
comic music? Like, is there a comedian out there that you love their comic music?
No, I don't really listen to that stuff. I mean, if I hear Adam Sandler sing something, because I know he does that in his specials, and sometimes I think that's super funny. And like my boyfriend and I have a podcast that we have on Sirius XM, and we do a lot of silly songs that we make up on it. So doing that is super fun, but I don't really like go out of my way to listen to like comedy music. But yeah, it's fun. It's fun to make.
Yeah. I went and seen Comedy Festival Supreme the first year, and it was like obviously all comedians. So it was like, oh God, who was there? There was Adam Sandler was there. I can't remember his name from Hot Tub Time Machine, the black guy. He just sat at his keyboard and just went,
oh yeah.
That's all he did for like an hour straight.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
The girl from Bridesmaids, she has like a Prince 80s band called like Princess. It's like
Kristen Wiig?
The brunette. Yeah, she's
Melissa McCarthy? No.
She was the one getting married in Bridesmaids.
Oh my God, who was that?
I can't remember.
Oh, from SNL? Was she on SNL?
Yeah.
Yes. I forget her name.
She does all Prince covers. Like it's
wow.
Crazy. So
yeah.
Sarah Silverman was there, but the one that was like totally odd that I've never heard of, and I don't quote me on this, but I believe it's Hall & Oates' daughters.
Okay.
And they are like hilarious, like Girlfriend in a Coma hilarious. Like I was laughing. Their audio wasn't working very well and everybody was kind of leaving, and I was like, no, I'm staying for this. And it was like so funny, right? It was hilarious to watch that and just watch them. I've never really seen a concert like that before. I was like, this is really trippy, like all these comedians singing. Like I expected. It was probably pretty cool.
There's a show called The Goddamn Comedy Jam. Do you know it?
No.
It's pretty big. I think it started in LA, and Josh Adam Myers does it with like an actual band. And they were I was at Skankfest last year. It was in Vegas. And I've seen them at Skankfest. I've seen them at Moon Tower, which is a big festival in Austin. And basically, as a comedian, you pick a song that you want to do and you sing the lyrics, but you don't have to be a good singer. It's not about that. It's just about performing the song. And it's so incredible because, comics are performers. They're not singers, but the song comes out it's so fun to watch because they have that performance experience. Yeah. And you see some of them and you're like, dude, you could have been a rock star. This is amazing. And they'll just sing covers. And it's such a good idea. It's so much fun to watch.
It's a good idea. So
yeah, he asked me once at the Comedy Cellar, he's like, do you want to do it? And I'm like, I'm not ready. Like to not be able to sing and do that. I'm like, I'll let you know. Yeah.
All right, next song. Great movie.
there's nothing.
Oh my God.
I feel like you could do that song.
Yeah, totally. I love, like, was this Flashdance or
Yeah.
Fame? Flashdance, yeah.
Flashdance.
I loved anything like like Footloose, all these dance
Yes.
movies. I just thought they were so fun, and I kind of vicariously like love to pretend that I was a dancer and that I could, because I can't dance. I'm 6 feet tall. No one in my family dances, and to just pretend, like, I remember all of these 80s. I don't know if that was an 80s movie or yeah, I think it was. But like there's so much cheese and drama, like Pretty in Pink and 16 Candles, and I always pretended I was that girl in the movie. And it's just the 80s were so full of like cheese.
Yeah, they were.
And
Do you remember your
loved
favorite 80s
that.
movie? What was your favorite 80s movie that you watched over and over?
I mean, there were a bunch. When Harry Met Sally, that was 90s. That was probably
Maybe.
90s, right? I think
Maybe.
like 16 Candles, Pretty in Pink, Footloose,
Yeah.
The Lost Boys.
Yes, The Lost Boys. Were you
yeah,
Corey Feldman or Corey Haim?
I was the one with the wings.
Or Kiefer Sutherland?
No, I mean, I had a massive crush on Kiefer Sutherland, and then it all just came back when 24 came out. I mean, I was like, I can't get rid of this guy. He's so hot. But yeah, I loved what's his face? Yeah, what's his face? I can't even think of his name because I was like so into Kiefer Sutherland. I thought he was great. But every one of those movies, like, I had a massive crush on Andrew McCarthy when Pretty in Pink came out, massive crush on Kevin Bacon when Footloose, like, it was just, I mean, every girl did, because those teen magazines didn't help either. Like, it was just, does your daughter, did they go through that poster on the wall thing, or was that just an 80s thing?
I think it was just an 80s thing. She had a few, but nothing like there was no paint. You couldn't see. I came home, my grandparents owned a fishing resort, so I would go there in the summer. And then every time I came back, they always did something nice for me for my room. So she like painted the walls, knocked out that wall, put like, my mom was very creative, like put all these really cool fans on the wall, made it very, very girly, which is totally.
Wow.
And then I went in with like stacks of Teen Beat magazines that I came back from being gone for 2 months.
Yeah.
Really covered the whole wall, and then like put up Jack Daniels bottles on my waterbed frame. Obviously I didn't drink. I was only 15, but 19 Jack Daniels bottles that were just up on my headboard, which is weird, but I drank them obviously, but of course. So I had like no paint on the walls. It was like always posters everywhere. And my kids they had like maybe 1 or 2, but music, like we still do lots of concerts together, especially me and my daughter.
Oh, that's nice.
Like taking her, I want her to have like crazy experiences, because I'm so into music. So I take her to everything. I just booked them tickets to go see Chasing Summers, like, that are coming right away. Like, my son's like, Tiesto's coming, we gotta go. So I bought these tickets yesterday. I'm like, oh shit, I'm emceeing a wedding on the Saturday and I'm going to miss Tiesto. I'm like, I'll go Sunday with you guys. Right. So I always do like general admission for them and then VIP for me, because I'm not standing in line to pee.
No.
Doing that.
Yeah.
You guys go and do that. I'm not doing that.
No, it's so funny because, like, Aha was my first concert. And then I remember all of these bands would come to my college before they blew up. Like, I remember Nirvana was there one year. Wow. And I went to see them. And Tom Petty, I think, was already big, but I think he was there. And then other ones. And then now my nieces are early teens. Well, one of them's almost 18. The other one's like 14. And Harry Styles is coming to Barcelona, and they got me a ticket. And I was like, yeah, like, another reason to do Spanish comedy and go see Harry Styles, sign me up. So now I'm like super excited about that in July. And I have friends who went with their kids, and they're like, it's a crazy concert. Everyone dresses up. Everyone has like a boa around their neck, and it's so fun. So now I'm like, because I went down this Harry Styles rabbit hole the other day, just to see like, what am I actually going to see? Because I know some of his music, but like, you know, I watched everything from like he wasn't on America's Got Talent, but it was one of those shows, The X Factor. So I went through this whole Harry Styles X Factor with Simon, whatever his name is. And it was just like, I'm like, oh, I love this guy. But now I'm like a Harry Styles super fan. Yeah, he's like so cute.
Yeah. She's like, that's going to be my husband. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And then Machine Gun Kelly. And I haven't really listened to any of his music. Like he doesn't really appeal to me at all.
Right.
So I went and listened to some of it and I was like, I don't really think he's that amazing, but whatever. If you like him, sure, you can like him. But it's interesting what they, you know, like both of our kids have been like exposed to so much music and they are, so we have this little game, you should play it. It's super fun. You just open up your Spotify. If you have friends around, everybody kind of picks a song and adds it to the queue. So then everyone has to kind of hear their music. So we do this all the time when we do family.
Oh, fun.
Right. So like, it just gets people excited and then they hear their song. They're like, oh, this is my song. So it's super fun. And it's all like crazy death metal, psycho stuff that I'm like, really, this is what you're listening to? Like, I wouldn't have ever thought that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's so funny to like also find out what they know that was you know, huge before they were born. And then also the opposite, like my boyfriend's son, I think he's 14, but I think he was like 11 at the time when this happened. Like we were talking about Madonna and he was like, who's that? Who's Madonna? And I'm like, who's Madonna? Like, you know, but that's normal, like for them. They just, how's he going to know everyone, you know?
And I always laugh because you know, my son's wife is into all this gangster rap and she's as white can be. And so it makes me laugh when she sings this. So then I'll go and put on like old school NWA or something. She'd be like, oh, who is this? And I'm like, this is like gangster rap.
Right.
I don't know what this is. They're just putting down women for the next 4 minutes, but this actually has a theme to it.
Right, right.
So it's so night and day. It's funny. Yeah. 14 years old, eh?
Yeah, his son is 14.
It's crazy. What is one thing that you've learned from that 14-year-old so far?
Honestly, like how to make a video with green screen. Like these kids are so good with like special effects and whatever. And even when he shows me, he's still kind of like that shy kid. And I'm like, I tell my boyfriend, I'm like, John, can you have him, you know, show me how to do this? And he like does it at his speed. And I'm like, I can't follow this. This is way too fast. He's like, just go here and hit that and da 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 da. And I'm like, can you like do this like grandmother slow? Because I have no idea what you just did. And they're all like that. Like my nieces are like, why don't you just do this on your iPhone? I'm like, that I didn't even know that was an option.
Yeah.
Like, where did you pick this up from?
No, they're on it all the time. They know everything. This is literally one of my, well, he's not my favorite singer, but this was somebody that I would definitely sleep with. Definitely.
Oh, yes, me too. Oh my God.
Esta noche bailamos. Te doy la mi vida.
I always used to say to my husband, this is a wood tick that I would definitely sit on for sure.
I feel exactly the same way. Like to me, like I listen to him more now than I even did when he first came out. Like I love his music now. And I make Alexa, I'm just like, just play Enrique Iglesias greatest hits. And then it just goes on and on and on. And she'll start repeating the song. And I'm like, I don't care. I love him. That's so weird because I remember growing up in Spain and the magazines would be like Julio, you know, and they would show Enrique and he was just a kid. I'm like, who knew what he was going to turn out to be? But I was like, this guy is amazing. He's hot.
Yeah, he's super hot. So when's the last time you went to a concert? How recently?
Oh my gosh. I don't think it was that long ago. What did I see? Maybe it was. I don't know. I've seen Bob Dylan a few times.
Good.
That was through another guy that I used to date who was like a super fan. And then, but but I've seen a few before. Oh, I know. I did this comedy festival in Seattle called Bumbershoot, and it's mostly music and there's some comedy. So when I wasn't on stage, I would just go see the bands, and I couldn't even tell you right now like who I saw, because you go to one field, there'd be like one person, another, but incredible.
I
And
love
now
that experience.
oh my God, it's so amazing. Like I just got into a Spanish festival that again is huge in Barcelona. It's this summer and it's mostly bands, but then there's comedy. And I'm like excited to do the comedy, but I'm not like super, I'm a little weary because outside shows just they suck more. There's no ceilings, there's no place to keep the laughter. And all the comics I know in Spain who've done it, they're like, just be ready to it's going to sound like you're bombing, but you're not. But I'm excited for the other part, which is like all these incredible bands I don't know are going, and I'm just excited to just see them.
Well, so why don't you share a little bit about what you have kind of going on right now in your, not necessarily your personal life, but more on your, your comedy. You have a tour going on right now. What's coming up over the next, call it 6 months for you?
Okay, yeah, right now I'm in Vegas, but I'm going to Canada, and apparently it's all these small towns. I have never been to Ontario. I've only ever been to Montreal and Toronto for like one day.
Yeah.
Is that Ontario?
Yeah.
and then I went to Vancouver once.
Oh, wow.
But like a million years ago. But all of these towns that I'm going to, everyone that I talk to that's Canadian, they're like, why are you going there? I'm like, it's a tour through JFL, which is Just for Laughs, which is like a huge, festival. Yeah. And it's with 3 other comics. And I'm super excited because I love, my favorite thing when it comes to touring is going to places that I've never been. I don't care what it looks like. There's something exciting about like, what's this place? And it's like one of those like, I don't know if it's narcissistic but like, I don't really care about places until I can make an association with. So now it's like, I don't know anything about Ontario. To me, it's just like land above America. And now that I'm going to all these places in Ontario, like, I feel like I'll have some kind of connection to them. Like, and I know I've heard of Ottawa. I know it's like the capital, right?
Yeah.
Of Canada, but now I'm actually going and I'm just excited. But it's so funny how many people are like, why are you going to Brampton? I'm like, I don't know. So there's that tour that's coming up. And then there's like stuff in Spain. I'm like I said, I'm doing my comedy. I'm taping my comedy special at the Comedy Cellar, June 26th. So please, 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 if you're listening and you want to come to New York, please come to the Comedy Cellar, June 26th. I'll be adding a link to the taping to carmenlynch.com. It's carmenlynch.com/tour. And then I'll be adding the Spanish one, which will hopefully be in July in Barcelona. And then I've just been adding a lot of silly videos at all my socials are at Carmen Comedian. I just had one that went viral it's so weird now because like TikTok has all these filters, and one of them is like your face is like perfect, like you're like plastic surgery Barbie doll, and it doesn't even look fake, like it actually looks like a real model. So I did a video of myself as that girl, and of course that one goes viral. I'm like, fuck you guys, like, can you just viral something with my real face, So yeah, it's just been really fun. And then I added a new Instagram in Spanish, so all my Spanish stuff is at Carmen en Español. Carmen en Español. So that's like the main stuff. I'll probably just be doing a lot of work on getting my specials recorded. And then I think after that I have like random, like, I'm so excited. I just got Alaska in September.
Have you ever been?
Never been. Like, I want to go like whatever it's called, whale watching. And then, yeah, I just have other stuff, and more Spanish stuff is coming up, which is cool too. So I'm excited about that.
That's really cool that you have a lot of Spanish stuff coming up.
Yeah, it's weird because at first it's like, oh, I'm doing twice as much comedy, but it's not. I'm literally doing half as much like it feels like I'm doing double. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, this is amazing. But it's weird because now I'm doing literally less time in English. So it's almost like not like I'm regressing in English, but I have to like really focus on doing my English because I'm using up a lot more time to do the Spanish. And that feels so weird,
Yeah.
you know?
You're
Like,
gonna
I
get to the point
remember-
like,
oh,
don't
sorry,
you
go
want
ahead.
to hear me in English anymore? Like you're
I'm like, come on, make me famous in one country. It doesn't matter which one.
That's really cool though. I love that it's coming out that way when you didn't even expect it. And now all of a sudden people are requesting it. Like it's got to feel good.
It does, but I'm like, is my relationship gonna be okay? Because now it's like, can you come to Valencia? And I'm like, that's not like Ohio. Like I have to cross the Atlantic for that. So it just feels like weird, you know? I'm like telling my boyfriend, like, you can come to stuff. So I want to be able to keep this going so we don't forget each other, but it's really fun.
That is really fun. We're on your last song and I'm gonna pick.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep.
Good old David Bowie.
What a great way to end the episode. That's such a great song. Like when I listen to Bowie now, I'm like, how did I not like him growing up? And I know it's just because my sister loved him and I was like, I felt like I had to be different. But like, especially that song, my first late night spot was David Letterman. And they ask you, what song do you want to come out to?
Oh, cool.
And I picked this one. And it's so funny because it's the first late, especially Letterman, like Letterman was my favorite. Like he's New York. I loved his dry sense of humor. And then you go up there and you do 5 minutes. And then after it's over, you're like, oh wait, they played Young Americans. I forgot all about it because you're so in your head that you don't even hear it. Like I had to watch when it aired on Letterman the next day. And I came out to that song. I was like, oh, but I love that song. He's so great.
Was that one of your favorite shows that you've been on? Was David Letterman? Like, were you nervous? Were you nervous to be like, oh my God, I'm going on David?
I was nervous, excited. Cause I remember I had talked to a lot of older comics who'd done the show. And they all said the same thing. They were like, there's nothing to worry about. They literally handle everything. All you have to know is your 5 minutes. Like, bring your dress. They'll do your makeup. They'll tell you where to stand. They'll tell you where the light is, and then you just stay there and Dave will come out and say hi. Like, and it's true. Like, I would say the second time I did Letterman, I was more nervous because I was like, now I kind of felt like I had to prove myself. Cause I'm like, the first time I'm like, just do me. And then the second time you're like, oh, they liked me. Wait, what am I going to do to either make that the same or top that, So that second time, I think I was just more in my head.
What about Jimmy Kimmel? Like, what did you?
Oh, I didn't do Kimmel. I did Fallon.
Yeah. Like, what about Jimmy Fallon? Like, how was that? Was it?
That was great. He comes to the green room and says hello.
Yeah.
And I was so excited for that because I had heard that he comes over to say hi before the show. Like some of them will come out literally 30 seconds before you go on, which is not good because you're in your head. And I'm like, I don't want to mess this up. And the curtain's about to open. And now you want to say hi to me? Like, that's not cool. But Jimmy comes to the back and it was cool because like about a week before I did Fallon, I went to the dentist to get a cleaning. And I found out that he goes to my same dental office. So the hygienist was like, I know Jimmy, I've, cleaned his teeth for years. And so I told Jimmy when he came backstage, I'm like, I know so-and-so and he was like, and he was like, oh, like I said her name. And it's a very specific, it's not like Jennifer. It's a very unique name. And immediately he was like, oh, and he gave me a hug. And I was like, oh my God, I have to thank her because that's what got me the hug.
I love that. I love the way
it was cute.
Was though. Like he obviously loves music and loves to have fun. And I like that, right? It's different. right? If you're getting asked to be on a show, you're like, what the hell's going to happen today? Like, I'm going to do it, but what am I doing? Am I putting a snake around my neck? Am I sniffing helium? Like, what am I saying? Like,
yeah, it's funny because sometimes people will be like, did you play a game with him? And I'm like, no, I'm not famous. Like, he's not going to ask me to, to play a game. I would have loved that. But yeah, no, I mean, I got to sit on the couch for a second when the credits rolled. And I'm like, I'm happy with that. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Carmen, for joining me today on Music Junkies. It was so much fun. Thank you.
So much fun. Thank you. And yeah, let's keep jamming to all our music from the 80s.
That's right.